Okay, I guess we're ready. Lord Jesus, we thank you for your goodness this day. We thank you for the fellowship of the company of your saints. And we pray, Lord, that tonight you would set before us a table, that we might feed upon it and grow thereby. Increase our faith, Lord, and keep us established in you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so we're up to Proverbs 17. With new drama of fathers and wives and children, and the fool still rears his head, so can't get rid of that, or the proud. Better is a dry morsel and quietness therein than a house full of sacrifices with strife. So there's a picture here. You have this tiny little bit of food, and it's not even moist. And so it's maybe a leftover. But if you can eat that in quiet, it beats having Bible studies in every room of your house, but people fighting all the time. So guess what the vote is? The vote is strife has to end. The father of strife, I believe, is scorn. We don't respect someone, and so we feel we can just criticize them and create trouble. So remember, the Beatitudes say, "Blessed are the peacemakers, not the troublemakers." A wise servant shall have rule over a son that causes shame, and shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren. What this does, this kind of gets a little slice moving away from the dynamic of family, father, mother, and son. And what it's pointing out is that a servant in the house who's wise can have some say over family. The family knows he's not family, but yet there's a certain respect. And so he can say to the son, lighten up, or whatever it is that he needs to hear. And so the sense of ruling means that when he gives a word, the son accepts it. And it doesn't explain exactly why the son gives shame, but the implication is that whatever the wise servant is correcting, that's the very same area where he's causing shame. And shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren, that's the servant. So the idea there is the family will recognize his wisdom and his strength and his forwardness and his gentleness, and they become inheritors of the benefits of family. The fining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tries the hearts. So the imagery there are two mechanisms, a pot and a furnace for silver and for gold, and each one is turned up to an extremely high heat. And out of that, the silver and gold melt. The dross comes to the top, can be scooped away with a wooden scraper, so that the gold and silver are more pure. In the midst of that, that's a picture of what the Lord does. And that is, he looks at the heart, he turns up the heat, and pulls out the offending thoughts. And so we don't have private thoughts in our heart. They're all open to the Lord. And so sometimes I think we bring him shame by imagining things that have nothing to do with realism, or maybe it's something that focuses on our own selfish motives and something we wish would happen. And it's just foolish to entertain that and then to think nobody's listening. It's amazing concerning sin. We know the Lord is looking, but somehow mankind is content to do it anyway. And so if we had a real sense of the eye of the Lord, I think our behavior would change immediately. But we somehow overrule it, and that gives us license to maybe say or do whatever we please, whatever favorite pressure we want to bring on people. We feel free to do that. A wicked doer gives heed to false lips, and that's kind of a comment on many things that are governmental. When there's wickedness in your heart, not only do you attract lying, but lying becomes part of your wickedness. And it's you purvey it, you sell it, you put it out as though it's true. And sometimes it takes decades before the public realizes they're being lied to. And I think there's some hint that the public is getting on to some public things that are happening that really isn't true. Not really, but it's the wicked. It's the way of the wicked. They are callous. They look you straight in the eye and they lie. And of course, one of the ways they lie is, if they can, to create alarm. There was a famous, I think he ended up as a politician in Chicago, but he was in the federal government, and he made the statement, "Never let a crisis go to waste." And so that's the strategy of wickedness. The idea of crisis is something we manipulate. The crisis is something, if I'm smart, I can get something out of this. I can manipulate people and somehow redirect everything to me. And it's horrid. And there's not one case that they'll get away with it. That's one thing about the judgment of the Lord. Remember, every idle word that a man shall boast. That's how detailed judgment is going to be. You say, well, there's not enough time to judge everyone in such detail. Oh, yeah, there is. If the Lord wants, he can just stop time and say, let's be casual about this. Let's talk about it. Let's get deeper into this. No, we have no excuse. No excuse. And a liar gives ear to a naughty or a perverse tongue. And so when you are embedded in the unlawful, other things that are unlawful are then fodder to us. They feed us. They create something within us that it creates a value. And so sin, by its very nature, compounds. It begins small and accelerates. And the special thing about lying is that you got to remember, it's in corporate America, you got to remember your lies or you're going to be found out. And I've seen that at work a couple of times. They just couldn't keep track, and so, whoops, they got caught. Whoso mocks the poor reproaches his master. In fact, it's an insult to do that. It's cruel to mock the poor. The poor basically are in a great dire strait. They rarely have any power to recover from being poor. Remember, Jesus said, "You'll always have the poor." But it's especially wicked because the Lord oversees the poor. He's made the poor rich in faith, the Bible says. And so what's the point of mocking them? Especially with here, the result of that is that, I was going to use a jargon, but you're thumbing your nose at their maker. I would say they probably don't even know it, but in reality they are. And so that's an account then that gets set that has to be reconciled. Whoso marks the poor reproaches his maker, and he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished, especially if the calamity comes upon someone you don't like or a nation you don't like. Got to be careful. God does not have that kind of a heart. Oh, a gleeful, boy, they're getting what for now? No, it's an abomination, and punishment awaits. You'll not only get to hear about it, but there'll be a setback. It doesn't tell us what the punishment is, but God's not at a loss of assigning a punishment which is perfectly matches the offense. Children's children, that's grandchildren, are the crown of old men. How many times do we see that? And the glory of children are their fathers. This line of procreation is of great value to the Lord. Fathers, grandfathers, fathers, and children, and they are precious, and the mechanism of growing in that and receiving strength from that, and a lot of times a grandfather can counsel a grandchild, when the parents are kind of the enemy. Excellent speech becomes not a fool. The fool tries to pontificate and try to use words that are bigger than his vocabulary, and it's foolish. It's easily recognizable. Much less do lying lips a prince. We expect those who rule over us to do it with fairness and equity and with honesty. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that has it. There are a number of scriptures that we'll get to shortly that points out the practice of having something of value that you intend to give. See, that's the gift. And the gnarliness of that practice. The normal use of gifting is it's generous, I love you, and this is a token of that. But when the Proverbs uses it, it's pointing out that there's an ulterior motive. A gift as a precious stone in the eyes of him that has it, whosoever it turns, it prospers. So this is hinting that there's power in a gift. You can make your path a little softer with a wisely selected time of giving a gift. He that covers a transgression seeks love. We don't have to tell everybody everything that's going on, and it's far too common. And if someone got caught, someone we love, someone who's a believer, it's just best to keep it quiet. It's a sin to talk about things that you should not be talking about. And when you repeat it, it's like you double it. It renews the shame. And the one that's repeating it, of course, is in guilt. But he that repeats a matter separates chief friends. And so how many times we've seen that? Hey, Fred, you know what John said about you? Let your speech be yes and no. Jesus said anything more than that comes from evil. So we talk way too much. And talk so easily gets intense. It creates a fight. It's almost a surety. I think if we talk too much, there's an 80% probability you'll end up in a fight. It's like, don't do that. Just show wisdom and comfort and mercy, and rather than inspecting details of what other people are saying and then, I got you. Yeah, don't do that. A reproof enters more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. So You tell a wise man, you should think about this. There's another point of view that you're not taking into account, and it'll enter into him. He'll make it a part of himself. Well, thanks. I'm a better man. You pointed something out. This is good. Thank you, thank you. But 100 stripes into a fool. The idea is the 100 stripes don't change anything. It just makes them more furious. And it's punishment, but it's no correction. I notice they don't call our prisons correctional institutions anymore. I guess they've given up on correcting, huh? An evil man seeks only rebellion. They're against everything, and they'll tell you so. Therefore, a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. The Lord is very aware of injustice in the world. He's not looking around kind of bewildered, who's saying what, but rather he's accounting, he's bookkeeping. And at the right time, the Lord will correct it by responding in kind. Whatsoever you sow, that shall you also reap. And so this is lurking among the wicked. And if you can turn a wicked man from that wicked way, it produces life, and it removes the threat of this punishment. Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man. That's a pretty dangerous. We say mama bear, and so if you remove the youngsters from a bear, that's tough business. You don't want to be nearby that. But you'd rather do that, the Proverbs are saying, rather than a fool in his folly. A fool in his folly is worse than mama bear. Unbelievable. So I wish we had some sort of foolish barometer. Maybe our head turns a little gray or a little needle when we get foolish. And I think sometimes we try to get clever about things, and it's foolish. Whoso rewards evil for good shall not depart from his house. Everything gets frozen. The Lord just clutches him and doesn't let him function. You can reward good for evil. That's holy. But rewarding evil for good, he's in a trap. The beginning of strife is as when one lets out water. It's a gully washer. So the very beginning of it, woof, it's going to grow, rush, when you have these flooded ditches, brings trees and rocks and everything else. All of that began with a very small beginning, and strife is exactly the same. When strife begins, you're going to face a gully washer. You're going to face a violent rush of something that is totally uncontrollable. You will not be able to control it. So the main idea is to hold that back. Agree with your adversary quickly, it says. So if you know there's a disparity of position, just look for an opportunity to agree. Don't put the knife in and then twist it. That's kind of what this says. Therefore, leave off contention before it be meddled with. And guess who does the meddling? It's the enemy. Sometimes the flesh. He that justifies the wicked and he that condemns the just, even they both are an abomination to the Lord. And so sometimes we see something we like, but it's in the realm of evil. And so we're approving because of our own bias, we're approving something that is wrong, but it brought about a pleasant result. That's what the scripture is talking about here, and it's easy to fall into. The old saying is, be careful what you feel strongly about, because it's like a bow that's been pulled back, and it's just the slightest twitch and it gets released. And so they have the expression, don't rush to judgment. So if you have something that's pent up, an angst, all it takes is just a little release, and here comes the flood. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom? It's going to cost something, seeing he has no heart to it. You could pay a ton, you won't gain anything. Send him to school, you won't gain anything. A friend loves at all times, good and bad, good and bad. And a brother is born of adversity. I'm not sure I can recollect. The New English Bible has a translation that I love in Job. And it goes something like this. A righteous man deserves the support of his friends, even though he has forsaken the Almighty. A righteous man deserves the support of his friends, even though he has abandoned the Almighty. And that was Job's answer. King James and others have something different there, but I took a class in Job, and he read from the NIV, and boy, when I heard that, oh, that's such a great wonder. How large is your patience? How large is your faith? How large is your love? Even though the offense is great. That's what that's talking about. Can you still pull love? And this says at all times. A man void of understanding strikes hands. So the striking of hands, it's kind of like a statement, that's that. And if you do it too quickly, you don't understand what really is going on. The Jews have a manner of striking hands, and it's marital. And in public, if a husband does not like what his wife is doing, he'll make 2 fast hand claps, bang, bang. And when she hears that, she knows, gotta back off. My husband is spoken, just that clap, striking of hands, and becomes surety in the presence of a friend. It's that is then mentioning the idea of making an agreement. For us, it's the shaking of a hand. He loves transgression that loves strife. If strife is your, what do you call it, your favorite tool, the one that you turn to with some regularity, you love transgression. See, that casts a different light on it. Be careful when things get tight. Be really careful. And especially if you have more wisdom, you have to be the first one to cave. You can't let it go on. Yeah, but I'm right. But this makes you wrong. He loves transgression that loves strife, and he that exalts his gate seeks destruction. The gate meaning, this is where I live. This is how important I have, and look how big it is, and how wonderful I am. He that has a froward heart, a perverse heart, a rebellious heart, finds no good. The difficulty of our heart creates a cloud. It blinds us. We can see many things, but this cloud prevents us from seeing anything that's good. And so it twists you. And so what you're always seeing is harm that's being done. Lying, stealing, cheating. That then becomes your world. And if that's your angst, if you spend a lot of time in the day, hey, look what they're doing now, stop and think, maybe my heart is perverted. And he that has a perverse tongue falls into mischief. The tongue is the chief thing. If we don't offend in tongue, it says in James, we're perfect. How about that? Perfect. He that begets a fool does it to his sorrow. And of course, that could be applying to children, but I think it's also an application to leadership. That when you take someone who is foolish and you give them honor, you give them a position of responsibility that they don't have the capacity, they don't have the wisdom, then you get hit with sorrow. Man, why did I do that? Sometimes that sorrow doesn't go away for some time until the matter is reconciled with the Lord. These aren't just quips of I don't know, like Chinese fortune cookies. Oh, isn't that cute? No, these thrust at the very heart of life, and it means what it says, and that's why it's wisdom. And the father of a fool has no joy. So I believe there's a mechanism in the body of Christ to prevent this, because not all fathers know how to refrain from sponsoring something that's foolish. And so I think men as a whole have a capacity of meeting and getting together and discussing dilemmas and offering a solution, because a man sees something at one level and the lady sees the same thing at a different level, and both are needed. But in this case here, I think it's the difficulty in the skill and the purpose of a father in raising a fool. A merry heart does good like medicine. We've probably heard that a lot. Why are you cast down, O my soul? It's like, watch your heart. Keep your heart with all diligence. Out of it are the issues of life. So learn to sing. Don't let yourself be trapped by the evil report. And it's like medicine. That's what this says. It's like medicine. And so if your soul is sick, then get a merry heart. And if you don't know how to do that, start by singing to the Lord. Pick a hymn, pick a song that you like. Turn on a channel or whatever it takes, and feed your heart with instructions that then enables it to make merry. But a broken spirit dries the bones. That's the exact opposite. And so if your heart's not merry, if it's forlorn, if it's cast down, then you're drying up. And the solution to drying up is learning how to set aside the broken spirit. A broken spirit is a symptom of lack of trust of the Lord. It's like we discount him. He's not part of the equation. Look what they're doing to me. Look what they're saying to me. Or look what I've done. But the Lord himself is an ever-present help. And a broken spirit cannot thrive in that truth that the Lord is an ever-present help in time of need. In fact, that alone will help you sing. A wicked man takes the gift out of the bosom. He keeps it close to himself, and then this will give me an advantage, and he gives the gift away, and he does it to pervert the ways of judgment. So sometimes when people are generous, it's actually suspicious. I think generosity is key. It's wholesome, but when there's wickedness present, it's actually a tool to them. Wisdom is before him that has understanding. Wisdom is is a rank above understanding. Understanding has to do with a collection of facts and seeing their relationship. Wisdom is the mechanism of knowing then how, knowing what to do with what it is that you understand. So if you have understanding, what is set before you then is a capability of taking a step forward. But the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. They don't count. They're removed. Nothing to say. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bear him. So there's a stage in growth of children where foolishness can have an advantage, and it's a very difficult time to parent. And I think we can be trained to press through that time and be successful, but it's highly vulnerable. It's explosive. It can ignite. So that's why it's a grief. Also, to punish the just is not good. And the Lord hates it. An unequal balance. Whatever it is that robs someone who is upright of either a reward or of consideration or success, it's not good. Nor to strike princes for equity. The idea is wickedness has a way of noticing, of encouraging, actually building, that the destruction of a person, or at least some disadvantage, then produces something of value to you. And it's we used to call it office politics. And it's I think where I worked for many years, it was nearly absent. But in many workplaces, it's present. He that has knowledge spares his words. Later on, we'll see the verse. Even a fool's known, thought to be wise. We talk too much. And I think partly it's just a desire to be heard. We value our own opinion, and we want to get the approbation. We want to get the approval, and we're uplifted by, hey, now what a good idea that was. And so we tend to talk. But when you see the condition of things, rather than talking about it, you use a minimum amount of words, just whatever is necessary to get the job done. And a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. His spiritual strength excels. It's off the charts, as they say. It's the tongue. It's no more complicated than that. Here it is here. Even a fool, when he holds his peace, is counted wise. So you want to be counted wise? Ferme la bouche. Just, all it does is push. Have you noticed that? It doesn't, it very rarely pulls. It creates trouble. And he that shuts his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. That's pretty good. How'd you like to have that kind of a report? Button it up. Chapter 18. Through desire a man, having separated himself, seeks and intermeddles with all wisdom. This is talking about someone setting themselves up to be higher. And in order to do that, you've got to warp truth. You've got to warp wisdom. And you got to mess it up and make it sound logical, so that it gives you the advantage. But actually, the only result is that you get put to the side. A fool has no delight in understanding. They don't want to be told. So don't lay it on. It's just, they used to say, beating a dead horse. It's not going to work. Okay, the Proverbs knows what's going on. But that his heart may discover itself. And so the inference there is that there's something already in the heart, and the heart has to see it. Isn't that interesting? The heart has to see something that's in the heart. When the wicked come, then comes also contempt, and with iniquity, which is disgrace, is reproach. Evil causes trouble. They rarely solve problems. They take a situation and they force it, they warp it, and more often than not apply an injustice. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters. There's a proverb that says that your words are like a deep well. And a man of understanding takes his bucket and he goes down and he gathers that water and brings it up. So what you say are deep waters if they're not foolish, if they're not contentious, if they're spoken at the right time and in the right place, with the right tone of voice, I might add. And the wellspring of wisdom is as a flowing brook. When wisdom is up and about, everybody just rejoices in it. It wins the day. It just flows, and much to the delight of all. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked. Just be careful how you respond when wickedness is round and about. It takes wisdom. And more often than not, the safest thing is to say nothing, to make no proposal, agree to nothing. Let me think about it. I see what you're saying. Because if you open the door, you're accepting the person of the wicked, and that in itself is detestable. To overthrow the righteous in judgment. So there's a distinction between accepting the person of the wicked and then, on the other hand, overthrowing the righteous in judgment. And so there are some times when the righteous decide something that's moderately heavy-handed, but it's required. And so unless you have the authority to make a change, unless you've been empowered with the duty, it's just better to say, Lord, your will be done. A fool's lips enter into contention. That's where it starts. It just starts talking about something, and next thing you know, it's kindled a fire. And his mouth calls for strokes. It's like, let's get him. Let's get him good. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his souls. I don't know, Lord, are we done talking? Do we get it yet? The idea is, how come you're pressing this on and on and on? Are we that thick-headed? Evidently. The words of a talebearer are as wounds. Hey, did you hear about this? Measure whether or not there's a duty to speak something. And that usually occurs when someone has a responsibility over you, over the circumstances, and you realize that they're lacking information. Even that, I would do it very carefully, because they wound. They go down into the innermost parts of the belly. It's a dreadful wound. It's not a paper cut, but it's a sword that enters into the deepest part of a being. And boy, does it take time to heal. It's such a foolish thing and can be done so quickly, but it sure takes time to heal. He also that is slothful, lazy in his work, is brother to him that is great. Somehow these guys team up. And I don't know if the greatness rubs off on the slothful, so that he gets things done the easy way, and that is he gets the great one to do it. I don't know. To him that is great waster. The neighborhood in which you live is an advantage or a disadvantage. Those you hobnob with are an advantage or a disadvantage. And in Bible school, they pointed out, and I think this is a fair, because we're under the burden of evangelism, But their comment was, the best evangelists are those who are newly saved. Because they're excited. Look what happened to me. And then as you grow older and older, all your friends are saved. So there's no opportunity unless you're called to go, which most of us aren't. It's like it dries up. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. Name here means renown. It means the knowledge of his greatness. There's a Celtic hymn that says, "You are my strong tower, and I run unto you. And you close the door behind me, and I am safe with you." That's an experience. To go to that strong tower, have the Lord receive you, close the door against the enemy. I'll take care of you. It's going to be okay. Just watch. And it's safe. So run to it, realizing you're headed towards safety. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. Boy, can he get it? Can he get her done? And as a high wall is his own conceit. His wealth is matched by how well he thinks of himself. And we see examples of that all over. So this is a mockery. They're being mocked. Yeah, you're wealthy, but we used to use the expression, that person is full of himself. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. We've said a number of times, worth repeating regularly, humility is the first step in gaining in the kingdom. If humility is not fully established in you, you're playing around the edges. You're not advancing. You're not ascending Mount Zion. And so humility is key. Man should not think of himself any higher than he ought to think. And humility is often expressed by your voice. You can tell when someone's just not all that impressed with themselves. They may be very influential, very knowledgeable, but it hasn't affected them as a person. They're gentle. He that answers a matter before he hears it. Have you ever seen that? Someone starts talking and then the other person jumps in. It's a folly and shame unto him. It's give ear. Give ear. Give the person time to finish. And you could ask a question like, "And then what?" Or, how do you think that should work? Just ask a question rather than just hammering back with our own opinion. It's godly. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? So spiritually, we have a capacity that if we get wounded, especially by the enemy, we got this arrow in our spirit, you learn to hang in there for the long haul. There's no quick solution to that. And so you sustain it. You keep steady. You trust the Lord. But the opposite of that is a wounded spirit. And usually someone's spirit is wounded by something someone says. Once in a while by something someone does, which is usually in the realm of betrayal. But it gets you. And it is vicious because if someone is unable to bear their wounded spirit, it's because they're on the weaker side. So all the more atrocious, all the more they needed your support, and here you are, you're thrusting a knife. The heart of the prudent gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. So remember, prudence is kind of like knowledge and wisdom together, but knowing how to be timely, knowing how it saves resources, It's not wasteful. A man's gift makes room for him. Here we go, back to the gift, make way, everybody. I got something for everybody. And so uh, you can appease the heart of the king by bringing a gift to him. And so it makes a way and brings him before great men. And so I'm not sure that's a negative. In other words, I'm not sure it's saying don't do it. I think what it's saying is recognize it. And so you may have responsibility in an area, and that's what someone does. And so then you have to judge to what extent now am I willing to alter my judgment. He that is first in his own cause seems just. This person just pushes himself forward, and there's just a sense of rightness about it. But it's no good being first in your own cause. There's an element of arrogance in that. I'm first. I have something that wants to be done, and I'm going to elevate it. This is what we need to do. And it's all about them. Narcissism, I think, is something worthy of being exposed to it. Its nature, its dimensions, and I know on YouTube there are some studies, half hour, an hour, on how to identify narcissistic people. And they are constantly manipulating everything so that it turns back to their own advantage. And the symptoms are easy to spot, but easier if you've been trained a little bit. He that is first in his own cause seems just, but his neighbor comes and searches him out. The idea is, what do we have here? Is that could you explain that a little more? I lost you when you made that statement, and so you gotta learn to see if you can't help them by their own mouth reverse what they're pushing for. The lot causes contentions to cease. People can't agree. Let's flip a coin. Heads, it's me, and tails, it's you. That's what it's talking about. And parts between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a city. That's why keep your mouth, keep your tongue tender. Why press it? And I've said it before, and I'm beginning to recognize it as a more major fault than I've ever realized, and that is the basis of that is scorn. The basis of disagreement is scorn. I know and you don't. And it's horrid. And it offends. And is it easy to win them back? Nope. Nope. It's going to take time and grace and faith. But you can do it. You can do it. And their contentions are like the bars in a castle. They set up a resistance, and it's there. And the only way in is gentleness. Don't throw more dynamite sticks at the barred window. Servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach and patient, instructing those that oppose themselves, if God peradventure will give them repentance unto the acknowledging of the truth. You do not know when you use words that the Lord will back you up. In fact, there's some doubt that he won't. So that's one reason why humility is a great virtue. You don't know if he's going to back you up. You may be 100% right, but if he doesn't back you up, it's a 0. See, in meekness, opposing those, instructing those that impose themselves. If God, peradventure, it means by chance. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth. It's God that does that, not you. So when you feel contention rise, just relax. Give it to the Lord. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth. It's almost like eating. That's right. Oh, how eloquent I am. And with the increases of his lips, he shall be filled. And That's probably an element of narcissism right there, self-love. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Both. You can bring life to someone with the tongue. You can also slay with the tongue. And they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So what goes around comes around. And you get pushy with your tongue, you're going to get pushed with the tongue. It's like, so there. Now you know how it feels. Whoso finds a wife finds a good thing. Now I read that years ago, and I could have sworn that what it said was, he that finds a good wife finds a good thing. And then I realized that's not what it says. He that finds a wife finds a good thing. So wives are good. I like that. You know, no qualification. If you're a wife, you're on. And obtains favor of the Lord. Yeah, I like that. The Lord is deeply engaged in things marital. It's not a. He created Adam and Eve just at the very beginning, and so He cares, and He's a present help. And when things are getting bogged down due to certain reasons, the poor uses entreaties. Can you help me here? You see these men that have signs at intersections. Need bread, need food. It's an entreaty. Can you help me? But the rich, they answer roughly. What's the matter with you? It's sorrowful. A man that has friends must show himself friendly. Don't pout. Don't isolate yourself. If you're going to have friends, you got to be friendly. Any questions? It's amazing that something like that's in a proverb. And there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Closer than a brother. Chapter 18. Better is the poor that walks in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. And so someone who has lack of the advantages of life, but still has integrity. What he says he does. He doesn't play around. But perverseness creates folly. Also, that the soul be without knowledge. It is not good, and he that hastes with his feet sins. So, sometimes you sense that there's like an internal urgency, especially among people, that something needs to be done. Somebody do something. And that should be a signal. Maybe we're moving too quickly. Maybe we don't understand it. And so, because doing things in haste when you do things in haste, you're not allowing wisdom and judgment to prevail. The foolishness of man perverts his way, just upsets the whole thing. And his heart frets against the Lord. He's just always putting up his dukes. He's always complaining. Wealth makes many friends. Oh, don't we love it? But the poor is separated from his neighbor. So God has chosen the poor to be rich in faith. So be careful about your heart toward the poor. Jesus said, the poor you always have with you. So they are part of the neighborliness of our walk. Loving your neighbor. The poor are included in that. Of course, we know they can't reward. We know that often they squander what help they get. So it takes wisdom. But our attitude toward the poor needs to be strengthened. A false witness shall not be unpunished. Just make your words true. Don't try to impress people by the way you craft a sentence. Just avoid it. Just speak the simple thing. He that speaks lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, because he's the one that has the power, and every man is a friend to him that gives gifts. So, we neighbor up to them, we like their presence because we know they have the power, and especially if there's someone generous, why not? All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, yet they are lacking to him. And so there's a barrier. It's almost automatic between the wealthy and the poor, and the heart of the wealthy, and nearly everybody in the United States by world standard is wealthy. We don't realize that. But it can create a resentment. Look, I paid my dues. I made it. So what's wrong with you? That's not how the Lord does it. He that gets wisdom loves his own soul. It's like, thank you, Lord, I got that right. Mark it down. He that keeps understanding shall find good. It's some things you get it, you just hold on to it. A false witness shall not be unpunished. Is this a repeat or what? He that speaks lies shall perish. So the Lord is severe concerning sin, especially the kind of sin where there's proper accountability, where, look, you knew better. This guy over here, he didn't know any better, but you knew better. And that's where the accounting is held. Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. The thing, if you've ever been around foolish people, they practice a mechanism by which, if they can, they'll position themselves above you and create either a sense that you're guilty or that you don't have anything to say, but they place themselves above you with the intent of getting their will done through you. The discretion of a man defers his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. Discretion means you have some choices, and you take the safer path. You take the more graceful task. You take the path that is filled with wisdom, and that will make you feel better. Your anger won't be stirred up. It'll be deferred. And passing over transgressions, we're commanded to do that. Turn the other cheek. It's where did we hear recently? Someone testified they think they were overseas, and someone hit them, smacked them with their fist. And when the man that got hit stood up and was recovered, he said to the man, "Do it again." And the man ran screaming from the room. He just, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight this. The king's wrath is as a roaring of a lion. Don't get messed up with kings. But his favor is due upon the grass. And I don't think we understand the monarchy. I hear too much disdain of the monarchy. But a godly monarch takes care of his people. And you can read the kings of old would see a certain population was poor. They would take their treasury and give it to them so that there be more equality in their kingdom. And so the funny thing is, when Jesus comes, the monarchy is going to be restored. So if you have an angst against democracy versus monarchy, go slow, because you may have to change your mind. A foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife or continual dropping. So um, the Proverbs counsel us things that pertain to a possible weakness. And so there's a possible weakness among the ladies that she sows contention and does so again and again and again. That's the continual dropping. Just keeps going on and on and on. And so uh, later on we'll see the Bible says it's better for a husband to live in the wilderness than to have this going on. But it's wisdom, and it allows us to see that the Lord has kind of put his finger on things that, if allowed, becomes a weakness. And it doesn't have to be allowed. You can be strengthened so that you're not subject to it. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and the prudent wife, here we go, back again, is from the Lord. And so that's an interesting thought, that the virtue of womanhood, which is so effective and so necessary, the Lord says, that was me. I was the one that, see, there again, that prudence of being able to do things in a timely way and in an efficient way. The Lord is the supplier of that. So if you find yourself ever strung out and you don't know what to do and you need to do something prudent, seek the Lord. Slothfulness cast into a deep sleep. It produces a laziness that is unbelievable, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. If a man work, don't let him eat. Slothfulness means I just won't do it. I'm sorry. Make me. It's an arrogance. He that keeps the commandment keeps his own soul, but he that despises his way shall die. I think that his there is the Lord. And so we need to talk about the commandments of God, because keeping his commandments is a precursor to loving him. He that keeps, Jesus said, he that keeps my commands, he it is that loves me. And so, and that verse has to do with a deeper experience with the Lord. And my Father will come unto him, make our abode. And so I believe we are in a season where we need to be careful about little things, and the Holy Spirit will help, where we exercise ourselves in disobedience, not even realizing it. And so it's a trigger that goes off. The Bible says I shouldn't do that, and here I am, I'm doing it. And so it's a school, and of course the flesh yearns for the disobedience, and so does the enemy, so does the world, for that matter. But it's a skill, it's a mark of maturity when you catch yourself with this hunger to make the shortcut, because obeying the Lord may cost you. He that has pity upon the poor lends to the Lord. The poor comes up again. Being generous with them, it's the same as the Lord receiving it. And that which he has given, will he pay him again. So what goes around comes around. When the Lord sees that you are indebted to do his will, he then says to himself, I am indebted to you. I'm watching. I know. I see this. And I'll reward it. Chasten your son while there is hope, and let not your soul spare for his crying. Another proverb says he's not going to die. So sometimes our child rearing gets a little too psychological, and it's not effective. There needs to be in the background a pain that is assigned when there's disobedience, especially the willful disobedience. And we don't like the crying, but don't spare for the crying. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment. Don't get angry about things. For if you deliver him, yet you must do it again. If you help somebody who's angry, you get him over it. Next week, same thing, same dilemma, same mechanism. It doesn't change. Be careful when you see circumstances that are unhealthy and they don't change. You're hooked. There's something's got you, and it's either the way that you think, and you think you're doing the right thing, but actually it just creates a deadly spiral. Hear counsel, receive instruction, that you may be wise in your latter end. We need a mechanism so that advice is freely given and freely received. Sometimes people need to hear, just do A, B, C, and D. It'll be okay. And we kind of tighten up concerning that. We resist it. There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. There's all kinds of things that goes on. But if you can open your heart and let the counsel of the Lord enter in, then that settles it. And so sometimes you're weighing your alternatives, and A, B, and C, and D all look pretty good. Maybe you're kind of close. That's the devices that you're considering. But that is overruled by the Lord stepping in and giving where he gives his counsel. That, I think, is a daily established mechanism of the Lord to receive his counsel. Do it this way, do it that way. Rather than last year and then this year. I heard from you last year, now I hear from you this year. It's not easy to do, and Lord willing, maybe at some time we can talk about the process of entering into a relationship with the Lord. It's not done through petition. It's not done through intercession. It's done through relationship. And so learning how to grow closer to the Lord is essential to hearing his counsel. The desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. So, see how God exalts the poor. Someone who lies, he's worse. The fear of the Lord tends to life, and he that has it shall abide satisfied, and he shall not be visited with evil. So remember we talked about the rearview mirror. Practice that notion where you realize you're about to do something and you know it's wrong. And sometimes it's just a very small thing, a smart answer, for example, and you feel it stirring, and you realize the Lord's watching. You realize I'm about to do something wrong, and then you hold it back. A slothful man holds his hand in his bosom. It's like, what's it doing in there? Well, it's doing nothing. That's why he's slothful. And he will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Just, So what? Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. We had mentioned scorning, and scorning is a special category I think we need to visit more directly. And if a scorner is brought to task, those that are simple, who are not part of the elegance of interactive thinking and complications, they'll realize I need to be careful and reprove one that has understanding, and he will understand knowledge. And so remember, the Word of God is profitable for doctrine, reproof, correction, and instruction in righteousness. And so that's this: reprove one that has understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He that wastes his father and chases away his mother is a son that causes shame and brings reproach. Cease, my son, to hear instruction that causes to err from the words of knowledge. You may have a favorite radio program or just some source of information, and it just isn't, you love it for some reason, but it always has this edge which leaves you miffed. Turn it off. You need a better source of maybe entertainment or instruction or comfort uh, than these things. An ungodly witness scorns judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. That means the mouth of the wicked devouring it. It can be, they just eat it up as though it's not even there. What are you talking about? It's all gone. But the one that is ungodly in what they say they see, they don't care about judgment. They don't care about them being judged. They think they're getting away with it. And we've seen court cases where they do get away with it, except there's another court waiting. Judgments are prepared for scorners and stripes for the back of fools. There's the scorner again. And so God's attitude is you have a scorner, and then in the background, there are judgments that are building. And pretty soon, there'll be a closure. And my prayer is that we notice when we're scorning. The most easiest to spot is when we put down someone else's religious beliefs. Just be careful. There's no point to it. It's an arrogance. I'm better than he is. Well, who made you better? So it's actually a criticism of God. And stripes for the back of fools. It's stripes represent, if you know to do the Lord's will and you don't do it, you'll be beaten with many stripes. And I've asked people, when does that happen? And I haven't gotten an answer yet. So it's got to happen at some time. Beaten with many stripes. If you get to heaven, is there a guy walking up and down with an appointment book in his hand with a whip, saying, "Okay, who's next?" I don't know. If you think you have an answer to that, I wouldn't mind that as a discussion. Well, praise the Lord. There's so much wisdom, and be careful of. Sometimes it feels like Proverbs are just repeating themselves, but as best as I could, I try to identify the nuance that makes it slightly different. And so wisdom comes from things being slightly different. You can see the difference between the two. Well, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for the greatness of your word. We thank you that you have within yourself the great wisdom that you so freely give to us. And we ask, Lord, that any manner of foolishness that's within our heart, I pray that you just drive it from us, Lord. Just create a gift. Just take it from us and replace it with understanding and knowledge. And this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.